Hello guys, we are live today for Carnivore Team GB, the ultimate live carnivore Q&A hosted by myself, Jonathan from Carnivore Muscle. Also joined today with Lee Coppers from @KentCarnivore, and it's not Jordan. Also, we've got here Phil Escott from Big Fat Challenge, also representing the Ancestral Health Festival, coming to you, to a country near you in England soon. We're also joined today with, I don't know what's happened to the screen now guys, so don't get funny with me if it doesn't come up right, Stephen. There we go. Everyone's here. How you doing, Stephen?
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
We're all here. Excellent stuff. So if anyone does have any questions, please put them in the chat below. And also, please feel free to leave super chats. They'll be prioritised and answered first. If you do have a question, please leave a queue prior to the chat question so I can see exactly where they are and what people are saying. Now, I need to find a certain button, and I don't know where it is. But bear with me, I need to put it on. So we have it. We have the button. Brilliant. So I'm here, everyone else here. You can go for any questions you guys do have, so please leave them in the chat. I'll also go around the room, see what Lee's up to, Stephen and Phil, if you want to just mention anything that you're currently doing at the moment on your channels or anything you want to discuss.
Yeah, I mean, I've just done a little session with Bart K, so I'm hopefully going to get that one up either tomorrow or the next day. On Thursday, actually, I'm popping on the Tammy Peterson podcast, so I'm really looking forward to that. So watch out for that one. Most likely, I will just share that with my community. Yeah, because she actually doesn't get a horrendous amount of views considering who it is, you know. But hopefully this one will. So that's about it, really.
Cool. Well done for getting on those, though, Lee.
Yeah. Good times.
Excellent. My news is just the Ancestral Health Festival coming up in not this weekend coming, but next weekend. So go to my channel for the link, ancestralhealthfestival.com, and tons of stuff going on. I'm really excited about it now. I'm spending most of my time organizing the music, so I'm getting distracted. But yeah, fire pits, singing around the fire pits at night, amazing speakers. Stephen's there, really hoping that Jonathan and Lee are going to turn up. They're going to be on the guest list. So you can corner them and ask them anything. And next time we're going to have more days so that everybody can speak. And yeah, wonderful stuff going on. Camping if you need it. Lots of stuff. ancestralhealthfestival.com. Last few days to book your tickets. Get on it. Come and see us.
Well, yeah, me, I guess. That's brilliant, Phil and Lee. Great. You know, really big news. And I haven't got big news, but I have got a rabbit hole that I'm going down at the moment, which is vitamin D3, obviously, and whether we need to add K2 to it, but also all the things that are around it. Like, why do we have international units? Well, of course, that's to make it sound super scary. It's nothing to do with the dosage. Seriously, I know Jonathan's laughing there, and I think he probably knows this anyway. But yeah, when you look into the history of why it's called international units, it starts to make your blood boil. And then you go down that route of trying to find other things, and then you find government interference with things like sun showers, tanning salons, reducing the amount of UVB that can be used in the tubes. And you just get a little bit paranoid, shall I say, about the advice you're given and what is the reality. So good old rabbit hole I'm down doing all of that. And the thing is, it's not like confirmation bias, because I didn't know this thing about the sunbeds. I actually went to speak to someone who runs a sort of tanning salon, and I just wanted to know roughly what's the UVB to UVA percentage of the bulbs in there. You know, not being political at all about it. I just asked that because I wanted it for a video to talk about vitamin D. And he rolled his eyes, and I went, have I hit on a nerve? And he went, oh boy, yeah. They're trying to stop fluorescent tubes, you know, full stop. In 2009, they tried to, they did. They absolutely said that all salons had to reduce their UVB without adequate reasons for explaining, which is obviously the thing that helps you promote vitamin D. But anyway, just stuff like that, rabbit holes like that, and getting into a bit of preparation for that festival that Phil mentioned. Although I'm getting a bit worried because whenever he talks about it, first thing he mentions is the fire pit. So I think all he wants to do is get naked and run around in the in the moonlight around the fire pit.
Honestly, nakedness is not optional. You've got to do it. No, seriously. It's just really nice, you know. What did we do ancestrally? You know, in the evening we had a fire, we sat round, we chilled out. It's nice. It's not compulsory or anything like that. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Very good, very good. Well, news for me. I released a new ebook this last week. It's currently £3.99. It's about less than $5, I think. It's all about biohacking, the things that I do in a day. I basically explain exactly what I do during my whole entire day. Everything that I find helpful, less helpful. A little bit about supplements, a little bit about training, a little bit about diet. But it's a lot of people ask me about biohacking, what I do, how I manage to get by doing things I do with my problems that I do have. So that's basically it. Other than that, I have a few new exciting things to announce. So I'll be doing the British finals for the the bodybuilding competition in October. Be the third week of October, I believe. It's going to be competing, I think, on the 20th of that month. Going to try and do the community proud, be one of the very, 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 very few apparent carnivore professional athletes. That's my goal, and there's not many of us out there, at least that do it to a noteworthy level, at least. Now, what else is there? Then we've got. I'm trying to think. I've got 3 collaborations this week. With one of them I did today with Dr. Chafee. Another one I'm doing with Bart K. Another one I'm doing with Sean Baker. Later in the week. So I expect to see my face pop up a lot over the next 3 to 5 weeks. And I'm going to put out, content related to autism, carnivore diet, bodybuilding, fat loss, muscle gain. A lot about training coming up soon as well. So keep an eye peeled on my channel. That's pretty much all I've got to announce for you today. So I'm going to go through the chat and go through the questions that have come up.
Can I just mention 2 things? Jonathan, firstly, congratulations on doing all the adverts and getting out there. It's fabulous. I mean, and Lee as well, obviously, getting on Tammy Peterson's. I think this is all good because we're just blokes. I know it is a bit blokey today, but, we're just people living in small houses in the UK, and we're able to reach out to all these people. So that's really good. I want to just tell you about a really weird coincidence. Was the rabbit hole I'm looking for, or was looking for, a really simple way to get your vitamin D tested. And I'm going to ask Jonathan for permission to put the link in the chat. But this is really weird. So I'm looking around all these different places.
Oh, is it the Heaver, something like
that? Yeah, Neovos, actually.
Neovos. Yeah, I knew it was like OVO.
Yeah. Well, the weird thing is, after searching all these different companies, their PR person literally lives just down there, just down there in the road parallel to mine, which maybe that's a match made in heaven. So I can really annoy her with all the questions by just when she walks her dog going, hey, excuse me, I've got a question. So would you mind me putting the link in the chat there? And I
go for it. Yeah.
10%.
Yeah, go for it. Chuck it in the chat, and I'll when it's posted that, I'll chuck it up on the screen so we can see it on everyone else's platform. Yeah. So if you're about to watch this now, you're wondering where's the link? Where's the link? We are currently streaming to 4 or 5 different people's YouTube channels. Everyone on the screen, obviously. So when it does come up, I can put it on the screen. Pause the video. Pause it now. Whenever it comes up, then what I'm going to do is just allow you to take a look for yourself. You can get a very exclusive discount code, which is 10% off with the code onlinecoach10, and that's on neovos.com, and that's for a vitamin D test that Coach Stephen is currently recommending. So there we have it. Is there anything else you want to mention about that at all, or is that just?
Well, I think it's one of those things that, if it's low, don't panic. If it's high, don't panic. Get it interpreted properly. Yeah, that does sound like I'm saying come to me for coaching, but you can go to anybody on the screen there and they will interpret it for you. But always remember, it's about how you feel, how you look and feel, how you clinically present. So if it says low, it's drastic, you need to do something. Doesn't mean you do if you feel fabulous. Simple as that. It's just to get a benchmark of where you are.
Absolutely, yeah. You're looking at trends for a lot of these things, guys. But yeah, I would recommend a consultation with Coach Stephen if you're at all worried about your blood work. Check that stuff out. Everyone on the panel offers something very different, which is why we don't mind promoting other people or suggesting other people for different things. I'd go to Phil for anything related to perhaps the Big C or the arthritis, or to go to Lee for a lot of things regarding digestion and hospital visits, because he's very good at them. Very, very good at them, especially recently. Myself, you can talk about body composition stuff and a few other little things, but neurodiversity, mental health, stuff like that as well. So yeah, we've got something cool to say, but I'm going to get to the questions now. I'm just going to find them on the screen. So anyone that does have any questions, look at the very bottom of the screen. It says leave your questions in the live chat with a Q. Super chats are prioritized, but not essential, but it does help. Anyway, we've got a new channel member, I believe, on my channel. So John Jackson, relatively new friend of mine. So thank you for joining, John, as a channel member. Appreciate you coming on to join the channel. For anyone's wondering, everyone can access our channels as members, I believe. We all offer something. You can find all of our links in the show notes below the video where you find us. So if you like what we've got to say and you want to get in touch with us for consultations, just chat with us, ask the questions, then you can find it all below there. And I'm going to stop advertising stuff for a bit and we'll save the rest for the end. But we're going to get to some questions. There's not many questions tonight, guys, so please leave a queue before your questions so I can see them. The first one's from Carsten. Thank you for joining. Hello, guys. I've been doing fine for 2 years online, but suddenly carb addicted. I'm binging for 2 weeks, God forbid. Ice cream, sweeties, any recommendations? We'll start with Phil, shall we, and go back to Phil, Stephen, Lee, then me.
Cool. Well, Carsten, I put up a little link in the chat, and I'm only messing, really. It's just an old Bob Newhart sketch of just stop it, but which is a classic, really, for this kind of thing. But I understand, and it could be. There's so many things to go into here. There could be some emotional stuff coming up, and it kind of goes back to childhood, even of being, associating those carb things with treats that you were given. It depends on what's happening in your life at the moment. That can come up too. But, if it wasn't 2 years on Lion, I'd be saying that it's just the microbiome readjusting and you stopping, the cravings of the bacteria that we no longer need. I won't call them bad bacteria anymore, but just the ones we don't need to protect ourselves against that kind of thing. Wait till they die down and those things can disappear. But if it's an emotional kind of thing, then honestly, EFT, emotional freedom technique, tapping, that kind of thing, look it up on YouTube, EFT, tapping. It can get rid of the sort of past addictions, if you like, that are coming up about those foods. They're just so hyper palatable. They've been designed by the elites and their big food companies and whatever to keep us on those kind of things. So just ride it out, chill out. It's okay if you binge a bit now and again. Just don't despair as well. Don't beat yourself up. Just get back on the horse and carry on. But I would, again, as we always say, have a load more questions about that. So pass it over to the other guys.
Mute. I'm just unmuting. Right, there you go. It is strange after 2 years on Lion. I think it could be the uptick in the hot weather if you're in the UK. Other people eating stuff that you used to eat, sort of like the visual temptation. One of the things that I suffered with and still do a little bit is things I used to like. I think partly because if I see them, because being deaf, I'm very visual, so I could be somewhere and think, oh, that looks nice. But it's making that decision not to then go any further. I think admitting you like certain things is actually a brave thing to do. I always liked Sean Baker saying, you know, if cheesecake was healthy, I'd eat it all the time. And so I think we shouldn't demonize. It's interesting Phil said about, you know, not saying about bad bacteria in your gut. I think there's no bad foods. It's just bad reactions to foods. And if you decide to eat ice cream, that's when it's bad. Ice cream per se isn't bad, is it? It's only if you eat it and it's too sugary or whatever. So I think you can look at many things. You could have maybe low blood sugar. You could be under eating or overtraining, and therefore your blood sugar is a bit low. You could be incredibly insulin sensitive now, because 2 years on Lyme will make you very sensitive. So I think you probably will be under eating. That will be the biggest thing. Stress is one that can trigger those sort of things, because you're looking for that that sort of sugary hit, the dopamine, comfort eating, for want of a better word. If you're not sleeping so well, that's exactly the same thing, another sort of stress. Or it could be you're looking for some sort of nutrient that you're not getting in the lion diet. So you could possibly add something like lamb, which has just got a different nutrient profile. I think that's a big thing that I tend to find with people who are doing lion a long time, is they need to change it up a bit. Which doesn't mean lion is bad for you. It just means that there is something that you were getting and not getting anymore. And it could be anything. Really, it could be maybe add fish or something, maybe for the EPA and DHA. I mean, I would say the body is so complex. It's pushing you to do something to change up. Sweet isn't the answer, but maybe because in the past, when you've been feeling down, low blood sugar, those sort of things, that perked you up temporarily. It's just sort of repeating those hardwired neural network connections, but the brain is very plastic, so you can unlearn all that, and instead of going for the ice cream and sweets, etc., start going for things like lamb or fish. I think that's personally the best thing to try, because I do believe that, you know, as you've done Lion for so long, it's going to be something like that. It might be omega fatty acids. It might be just different amino acid profiles. But there's got to be a reason why that suddenly happened after 2 years. That's my best guess. Don't know you, Carlston. So.
Excellent stuff. Sorry, I was having a bit of a minefield there with the buttons. Lee, what's your take on it? On like binge eating and going off plan like for 2 weeks? What would you do? What would be the first thing you think about?
Is Lee muted?
Lee, you're muted.
There we go. Right. Okay. A, B, C, D. Yeah. Where was I? Okay. So yeah, it's easy for me because I had such a contrast in results that there's no way I'm gonna kind of break or crack. And even though I do enjoy certain smells and things like that, you see someone eating something that you used to eat and it smells quite nice, you think, oh, that looks quite nice, but I'm never going to entertain it for multiple reasons. I don't want to feel the way I used to feel. And I think if you haven't had great results, maybe that it's a little bit like what Ben says, when he's here on the Team GB Live, he says it's quite difficult because he hasn't ever had some real issues that have gone. And so it's harder to stay on track. So for me, it's a little bit easier, but perhaps look at it like you want to be in control of your food. You don't want your food to control you. It's best the other way around. And I also think it's easier to say no to all of it rather than the majority of it or some of it, because the moment you get a sweet taste or you eat starch or you eat sugar or anything, even just a bit of sugar in a tea, if you still have teas, that's going to sort of eat at you and you're going to get these callings to keep going to the fridge. And, all of a sudden you've probably eaten 1 or 2 meals a day. And now all of a sudden you want to keep snacking all the time. And it's just this craving, for sugar. And so, I don't know, I would choose to look at it in a different way. For me, I look at it like, not only is it bad, but the people that made it are bad. I don't want to entertain the people that made it. I don't want to give these people my money anymore. That, they robbed my colon. That's how I choose to look at it. I was depressed, I don't want to feel like that anymore. And so I would just look forward. Don't look back. Don't think, don't dwell. what they say, don't think, just do. Just stay away from it. It's no good. Change the way you look at it, change the way your outlook is. And if you've had really good results, just remind yourself of how that is, how that feels, and you don't want to kind of lose that. And if you haven't, that's just going to be harder for you, I guess. I know that I don't want to be depressed anymore. And so for me, I've always got a reason, and that's my reason. So find a reason.
Yeah, solid. Cheers for that. I appreciate the touching message, because if anyone knows anything, about, I mean, obviously, other than like Phil, and myself, and Stephen, we know too well how bad it is to deal with these sort of things, and you coaxed into it, you don't realize how bad it is, and you get to the point you're like, oh no, a month's gone by, I'm eating crap. Okay, this is not helpful to me at all. So yeah, appreciate that. I'm not going to give my take on it. I'm just going to move to the next question because we've got a few coming through. We don't need to spend too long on questions. Next one, it's actually a super chat, I believe, to me. So thank you, Juliet, much appreciated. She's also a new channel member as well, which should have flagged up the screen, but it didn't. But I appreciate you being a channel member on my YouTubia as well. Now, she said, it seems that eating a pat of butter helps if I'm feeling anxious or just a little off kilter. That's a good word. I like that. Depression, anxiety, autism. Is there any science to back this? So Juliet's a little bit like me in her disposition, the way she is. I'll say that I don't know if I came up with it, but I found the hack of like the pat of butter before bed thing about 2 to 2.5 years ago. And everyone started speaking about this recently. And the reason why we do the butter, it does have a cortisol lowering effect. Now, they've done studies on athletes that are doing intense training. And within the postprandial period, or the post-exercise period, where they're eating the food and having, protein and fat versus protein and carbs, they found that people eating the protein and fat had the best or most statistically significant lowering of cortisol levels after exercise. So there's science behind that. The other science we do have is that the butyric acid within butter actually feeds the colonocytes within the gut. And if your gut feels good, you're in a good state, well, you're going to feel good mentally as well. The gut-brain barrier stuff, axis, sorry. Then the other thing would be, let me think. The fact is you're giving yourself something that you may be deficient in. So maybe A, D, E, and K, things like that. The butyric acid, maybe. Maybe it's giving yourself some kind of comfort as well, with like eating something like a little snack before bed. Maybe it's the ritualistic effect of it. The idea of having something, a certain time of day. People have the coffee in the morning, it perks them up. Same sort of idea, really. And probably the last thing I'd probably mention would be the fact that it doesn't bloat you out, but still provides an energy source. So if you're prone to waking up in the middle of the night, you're more likely to wake up if you're very hungry. So if you've not quite eaten enough in that day, but you top off a little bit of fat at night, that might carry you through a little better, and it might emphasize the ketogenic state. So some people, admittedly, it is associative, but a lot of people do say if they're in a higher state of ketosis, they sleep better. So you could be one of those people. So that's my take on butter before bed. But keen to know if anyone's got any sort of specific added information to that in the panel, just feel free to give it a shout.
Yeah, it does enhance the neurotransmitter production. So things like serotonin and dopamine. So they regulate mood and emotions. So I think that's one of the reasons why the butter is good for anxiety, actually, because it just as I just said, it regulates mood and emotion. So if you've got better production of those neurotransmissions, it's going to be helpful. But that was a spot on answer, Jonathan. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I bloody hope so, because I've got the best video on YouTube about butter. I spent hours researching it. I spent hours researching butter. Yeah.
Can I just say, if you've got a great video about butter, don't spread it.
Don't spread it. Bad idea. Do not spread the butter. From Stephen, you heard it here first.
Yeah, that's it. I'm calling the police.
That's it. Out of interest, just out of curiosity, how do you guys have butter? Do you use a spoon? Do you use a knife? Do you lick it, or do you just eat it like I do, like a nut job?
I give it to the kids when they really demand it, and I don't eat it at all because I don't do well on it. So, you know, for autoimmunity and healing the gut, I've got to say that it's wonderful stuff compared to all the other things like seed oils and grains and, you know, all of that sort of thing. But I'm a bit more strict with that. And I would say that I would just try. It's not so nice on its own, but try some tallow, see if it has the same effect, because that will have a better effect on healing the gut. I think there's a reason why paleomedicina put dairy up with grains and seed oils as a problem, because they're dealing with very sick people all the time. Like butter, you know, a bit of butter's not going to wreck your gut if you're healthy. But did we ever get it? I always feel a bit guilty when it comes up about dairy and stuff, because I'm always the guy to sort of poo-poo it. But you know, I got nothing against it as far as taste goes. If it was okay, if dairy was okay, I would eat nothing else all day. You know, I'd be spreading wheels of brie with a load of butter and just eating it. I love it, but I don't do well on it. And, you know, as they say, I think it was an expression made for bipolar people, they're like everybody else, only more so. And I think it's all often the same for people who are autoimmune. And so we can tell very quickly if something's really not that great for the human body and if it is. And, you know, in comparison to other foods, butter is great. But in comparison to tallow, if you've got any issue, and mental issues are often related to gut issues. So give tallow a go. Try a few spoonfuls of that instead and see where you go. I don't know.
Yeah, I just want to add very quickly to what Phil said. So the saturated fat from tallow or beef dripping has a much more varied kind of spectrum of short chain fatty acids which feed the colonocytes, whereas butter is mostly butyric acid. So maybe the reason why people will experience benefit in one versus the other is that their natural phenotype, however you want to discuss it really, requires more butyric acid to be optimized. Whereas maybe if you're someone else like Phil, the other side of the spectrum that has more saturated fat from tallow, maybe their gut microbiome needs more of different short chain fatty acids. Maybe it's a diversity thing, but the thing is there's no hard science in it, so we don't know. So we have to run the experiment ourselves and listen to people like Phil, listen to myself, and just see what works for you. Do a week of each and see what lands you in the best possible position. Stephen, do you have anything to add to that at all?
Did you say Stephen or Lee? Sorry, didn't hear.
Stephen.
Oh, right. Yeah. No.
What about you, Lee?
Great answer.
I'm actually more butter than ever. I used to buy sort of a bit salted butter and use that here and there. Always used to use tallow to cook my steaks in and things like that. But recently, I'm just taking big bites out. And actually what I'm doing, I don't know why I'm doing it, but I feel really good on it at the moment. My breakfast is like basically, I don't know, 30% of a brick. And I'll just go out and work on butter and I feel fantastic. I feel even better than when I'm fasted, just on butter. Obviously, I haven't got my gut anymore. So I think that's why I do so well, because obviously I did suffer from autoimmunity. But where they've taken out my gut, I think that's probably one of the benefits, you know, for me. I can actually get back on the dairy. I don't know how bad it would have caused me problems before. I think obviously fiber, plant protein, seed oils, alcohol would have been the biggest. I think if I never consumed any of them, I would have been fine. But recently, yeah, if you go in the fridge right now, you'll see all these big teeth marks because I've got big bunny rabbit teeth with a gap.
Mine's exactly the same.
So you see the teeth marks in the butter, and I'm eating more butter than ever. But what I would say is that I'm getting unsalted, so it's just pure fat. It tastes like thick air, you know. It's almost like no taste whatsoever. But I do really well on it. Yeah.
That's cool to hear. Yeah, I'm glad we sussed that one out, because we had a discussion a long time ago. I remember he's saying he couldn't eat it and that sort of thing. So I'm glad you can at least expand your palate a bit more.
Yeah,
that's nice to hear. Yeah, we'll move on to the next one, which is a super chat from Cherie Morgan. Thank you very much for joining, and again for the super chat, much appreciated. So the question is: trying to gain bone and muscle, do you think roasted bone marrow and sardines are more nutrient dense than a bison or beef? I'll hear you guys taking it first, so if anyone wants to respond first, just give a shout.
Okay, I'll jump in. Well, you got your sardines, very high in omega-3s. The bone marrow is wonderful stuff. It's so nutrient dense. It's got a really good fatty acid profile. So I think, yeah, it probably is more nutrient dense in certain areas than bison or beef. But excuse me. But what I always do is try to relate it ancestrally. I mean, how much would we have eaten of bone marrow, and how much would we have eaten of the muscle meat of an animal? So if you kind of balance that up, then you're probably at the right levels for now. People who overeat organ meats, for example, they can sometimes get into trouble, because how much would we have eaten ancestrally? Sometimes not at all. Sometimes the hunters would have eaten it a bit. We had a few bites raw and not even taken it back to the village. I don't know. But how big is an animal? How big is the how much of a percentage is bone marrow? And then sardines. We can't actually really live off fish. There's not enough fat in them to make them the sole part of our diet. So I don't think we get on very well with it. Not perhaps a bit more fat than rabbits, I'm not sure. So you don't get exact rabbit starvation for so long. But I think it is nutrient dense. But what I would recommend, an absolutely perfect meal: start off with a few sardines, have a great big steak or a load of lamb with a load of bone marrow spread on it, and then you've got probably about the best meal you can get. That's my opinion.
Great opinion. The bone marrow, actually, I added bone marrow to my meal plans because a few people asked. So I can tell you from the nutrient profile, just looking at it, that because the meal plan, I have all of the stuff down there, what's in it, why it's good. Vitamin A, E, K2 and B12, and minerals like iron, zinc and selenium, collagen and glycine. So bone marrow has got a lot in it, and it's really cheap and easy to add, because you just stick it in a baking tray, put it in the oven, and an hour later you've got some bone marrow that's beautiful to oik out of the bones. And I think as a side dish, from Morrison's, my local supermarket, I don't use very often, that was £2. So for all those vitamins, imagine that's like a multivitamin for £2, and it's from a really natural source. And obviously Phil's just mentioned sardines, EPA and DHA, which obviously for bone and heart health, all those sort of things, and brain. So I think it's a good question, because I wouldn't take out the beef or the bison. I think just having them all is about the best answer. I think that was great, Phil, because you're going to get all the things that you get from beef and bison. And just adding the bone marrow and sardines is just the butter on the steak, really. So I would actually include all of those things.
Nice. What about you, Lee?
Yeah, I mean, actually, if you just think about that as a meal, I wouldn't say you want to eat that every day, twice a day for the rest of your life, but you wouldn't do too wrong to do that. But you think you've got plenty of fats, proteins, all your micronutrients. Bone marrow and sardines are going to offer you everything you need. But I think, as the others were saying, if you have bison or beef with that, or if you have 2 meals a day and that's one of your meals, and then later on you have some steak and eggs, there's no way you've missed the nutrient that you need. I think the only thing I would encourage, obviously, would be functional movements to encourage the bone and muscle to build. That's the only additional thing I would add to that. So I think absolutely, sardines and bone marrow, red meat, eggs, and perhaps certain movements that will increase bone density and help build muscle and things like that. You're certainly going to recover very well on those foods.
Yeah, great stuff. I'm kind of of the same opinion as you guys. I think rather than focusing on, my day of eating is going to be sardines and bone marrow, or it's going to be a steak and eggs, have a bit of everything. I mean, I have those foods every single day. As of right now, I'm having 2 tins of whole sardines per day. Maybe about probably just under 1 kilo of beef per day. About just under 1 kilo of chicken breast per day. I'm trying to lean. Well, I'm trying to stay lean. That's why I'm doing the chicken breast, obviously. What else do I do? About 2 or 3 eggs, and some bone broth. With like that's got dehydrated bone marrow in it as well. Sometimes I use that one. So I'm eating like 5 or 6 animal foods. It doesn't get much more dense than that. In terms of the composition differences, the noteworthy things I can think of off the top of my head, like gram for gram, are like Phil said, the omega-3 is higher in sardines. The calcium will be higher. I believe the folate will be higher, and the copper will be higher, and perhaps the zinc. I'm not sure about the zinc. What you got to think is when you're eating sardines, you're eating a whole animal, basically, if it's shooting from a can, like the stuff I eat. And I actually had a can the other day, and obviously I opened it, drained it. Use brine or water, guys, not olive oil crap. Don't have that. Just a top tip. But yeah, I actually opened up the can, looked at the sardines, and it had on one of the layers, it had like little white little dots, like little like pimples. I chat GTP'd it to answer the question. It turns out it's just calcium deposits that are naturally occurring in the canning process that exist anyway, and it just adds to your diet basically. It's I think it's calcium carbonate or calcium phosphate, whichever one it is, which is perfectly compatible for your body to digest and absorb. So, like I said, you're eating a whole animal, you get a whole spectrum of food. Phil brought up a really good point as well about not being fatty enough, which is absolutely true. You do end up having to have fattier fish. Problem with fattier fish is oftentimes you end up having to source it from somewhere that isn't so how to put it, so toxic, if that makes sense. So mackerel is a good choice as an alternative. The only thing with mackerel is it doesn't have as much calcium in it or folate or B12 compared to the sardines. And what was the other thing about the bone marrow? Bone marrow, ideally, I mean, you can roast the bones, scrape the marrow out, put the bones in hot water with a bit of salt, a bit of white pepper, and make some bone broth. There we go. Brilliant. So you get all these meals out of, one ingredient effectively. So I think it's a good choice. And I think if we look at the N15 isotope data, which we evolved on, it's pure extrapolation. It's been my experience, if I'm honest, as well, with working with clients and what the average person tends to do and find success with. A diet of about 70 to 80% ruminant meat, 30% being obviously what you can tolerate, but eggs, dairy, fish, whatever proportion you want. That seems to suit you well based on your effects, how you feel day to day. Do a week of each. Do a week of beef and salmon, a week of beef and eggs, and see what one makes you feel best. You might notice a trend there, and I've done all these experiments myself, so I know where I feel best. And if you have dairy as well, maybe that makes you feel better, maybe it doesn't. So that's what I would do. I wouldn't look so much at like the narrow kind of spectrum of like foods. Think about what you can gain from different foods, and I don't think there's any food which is absolutely perfect because of our current food system. People will argue about the, beef, lion diet. Okay, yeah, beef, lamb, very nutrient dense, lots of goodness, lots of things you need in it. Problem is, when we're having beef in the past, we're often like chewing it off the bones. We're getting the gristly bits. Maybe we're eating a bit of skin waxed with extra glycine in it. Maybe we were having the blood that was dripping off the animal. So you got to think there's more to it than just beef in a supermarket packet. Now, if you've got a cow in your garden, you're hacking off its leg and you're chewing on it, well, there we go. You've got a whole bit of bloody food there that's going to give you everything that you need. So it's a bit different in that case, but I'm extrapolating based on epigenetic past N15 isotope data, so it's quite a loose kind of recommendation from me, but I'd look at different foods personally. But if everyone's happy, when we get to the next question. So Toto wants to gain weight. Do I need to add to my carnivore diet more calories from different sources? I'm underweight. That's a good question. So the question is basically, should I follow a mono diet or should I follow a poly diet? Lots of foods, different meals versus one food, one meal. Should we start with Lee, perhaps?
Yeah, well, you don't want to add more calories; you want to add more food. But yeah, I mean, I think if you stick to animal products, eat what you can, continue to eat and enjoy, getting the right amount of fat, getting enough fat in, enough protein in. So if you're like, again, if you're doing a lion diet and you find that it's getting smaller and smaller what you can eat every day, then maybe add some eggs. Maybe, if you can do well, if you haven't got gut issues or autoimmune issues, add a chunk of butter. I mean, I always say to people, if you can do dairy and you're worried, you're losing weight, if you eat to satiety, and then when you can't eat anymore, and I know this doesn't sound great to everybody, if you make up a little glass, make sure it's not homogenized. Obviously, I can get raw, but a small glass of whole milk, and you add 2 raw egg yolks to that, and you drink that after your meal, you will not lose weight. You will gain weight, or you will maintain. And so that's often what I did. I would sort of eat to satiety. I can't eat any more, and then I would actually fill up a cup of like 5 or 6 egg yolks and just neck it. It's like, well, you're going to be fine, getting lots of nutrients, and you're probably going to get extra fat and these so-called calories. And so that's what I would say. Make sure you're eating to satiety, and make sure you're eating what you can enjoy and eat enough of. So we're all different, Sometimes more fat is required. Sometimes it's just volume.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that the one thing I'd add is, because I've had this question several times over the past few days, even somebody on a consult today. I'm on a PKD diet, Paleolithic ketogenic, very high fat lion diet, if you like, or lion diet. I'm losing too much weight. I'm really worried. Now, I've been through this twice, once in 2010 to about 2012, once in 2022 over the winter. And I got incredibly skinny because I triggered it again with some other issues. But it also depends if you're autoimmune. There is so much to say on this. There is a process that you can go through, and both Natasha Campbell-McBride and Zofia Clements have highlighted this, where you get very skinny, but then if you're patient, if you're trying to heal the gut, if you're very patient, then the scales come up again. And I've been stuck at very, very low weights for a year twice. And suddenly when the gut heals, then the absorption comes up, and you suddenly you step on the scales and suddenly it's coming up again. It's like, I'm absolutely fine now. But 2 years ago, I was in trouble. And 12 years ago, I was in trouble. And I just had to have the faith. And I was always thinking, like the guys say, it's not calories, it's food. So different sources. Excuse me. And so I was thinking, right, I need to add sweet potatoes. I need to add this. I need to add that. Everybody's saying I'm really skinny. Everybody's saying, have you got cancer? Have you got, trust the process. If you look at what happens in paleomedicina, like when my missus, I've just got to go into this because it really illustrates it. My missus is from Tanzania, and, Black women are very rounded. They've got great asses as well. And if a Black woman loses their ass, right, there's something going wrong. And she was emaciated. She was getting skinny. That was happening. And I was consulting with Zofia over this at the time. And I was really worried watching her wasting away. It was Graves' disease. And we got her onto a fully carnivore, high-fat diet, whatever. She was still getting lighter and lighter. And we were sending the weight into Zofia every few days. And then Zofia was just going, not light enough yet. Not light enough yet. And that was interesting because she's seen this process so many times. So it depends. I mean, if you're really healthy and you're fine and whatever, eat whatever you like and go and train and put on some weight. But if you're still in, as say, an autoimmune inflammatory state, do not worry. If you're eating as much as if you're eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full and you're getting the proper nutrients in, fats, organ meats, a little bit of organ meats, that is, every week, good muscle meat as well, all the stuff that you need, be patient, because those scales do come up again. I've seen it twice in my own life, and I've seen it many times in other people. So again, a load more questions I'd have to ask, but just the caveat that if you're in any sort of autoimmune issue, or if anybody else is listening going, oh, I'm on Lion or I'm on PKD and I'm losing too much weight, don't panic, stick with it, be patient. It will come up again.
And I think, can we just mention your good friend, Dr. Jack Cruz, because one of the things he promotes, I'm not saying to do this, I'm just saying it's a very interesting term. The leptin reset protocol is one of the things that he developed. Yeah. And I think some people, they've had dysregulated eating for so long, they don't actually know what satiety is. and that is for people that are overweight or underweight. How and obviously you've got to have the right body image in your head, reflecting what you're seeing in the mirror, and that's another thing that is really important, because many people think they're underweight, and maybe they're not, or they are worried about putting on weight when they really need to. So just, it's good that you're looking at that gaining weight, because that's unusual in this community, but it does happen a lot. And I think one of the main tenets of his leptin reset protocol was making sure that you ate within 30 minutes of getting up 50 grams of protein. I'm not saying I've done that with anyone, but it is something to look into if you feel like you're stuffed. I am coaching someone at the moment who doesn't eat enough, and they just can't see it. I do a lot of mood and food diaries over WhatsApp, so people just send me pictures. That's part of what I do with coaching, is they'll send me pictures of their food, so I can see the frequency, I can see the volume, and they're always honest, so if there's something rubbish there, they'll put it in there. And I think this is one of the things Kelly Hogan mentions. I don't want to keep name dropping, but she's a big influence. I've been doing this many, many years. And when she was asked what is the biggest problem with this way of eating, first thing she said was under eating. And many people don't think that is the case, but I think it's not only the wrong choices or the wrong food, it can be not enough or not the right time, too late, too early. So you have to also look at those sort of things as well, just fitting it in with your lifestyle and just getting your hunger signals back to a more natural way for yourself.
No, you're spot on. That's a really good point, because people always think of leptin resistance as being sort of somebody who's really fat, but it can go either way. It can go really underweight, really overweight. So getting in touch with your hunger signals, again, is very important. Spot on. I missed that one.
Done. I think you started with me, didn't you?
Yeah, sorry. I think I fell asleep a second ago. Days that I've not eaten much today, guys. I've eaten less than like 50 grams of fat today, so my brain's not switched on. I don't know what's going on.
Well,
I need a leptin reset.
I've eaten nothing. I've eaten nothing today, so I definitely need a leptin reset.
Yeah, a little coaching tip, which the lads on the screen now will probably appreciate, is I do a leptin reset with nearly every client, and regardless of their stage, unless they come to me and they're like, okay, I want to work with you for a month. Okay, we're not gonna have time to do that. We're not gonna reach your goals doing that. But yeah, leptin reset is very, very valuable tool, and I actually made a video about it recently. It's on my channel. If you bear with me a second, I might be able to find the title of it at least. Yeah, Carnivore Diet Plateau. Try this. Yeah, so I'd highly recommend that one. It will sort you out, whether you're on either side of the scale in terms of weight, like Phil said. So yeah, what's the next one? Oh, we've got a super chat that looks fit. Very good. This is from Ribeye Rob. Great in-depth answers and advice as always, lads. I learn something new every week. Thanks for all you do for us. I'm very touched. Much appreciated. Yeah, it does mean a lot. Cheers for that, Rob. We just hope we can provide and continue to provide useful information to people. Whether that be free, you come with us, offline or online, in different room to discuss things in a consultation setting. We're glad to help you. And if you do have any sort of specific questions, obviously just book in, get in touch with one of us. We could chat to you about that there. But as always, thank you very much, and supporting all of our channels. I do often see you frequent mine and Coach Stephen's channel, so it is much appreciated. I'm going to get to the next question now. So it's just a super chat from Shree just saying, I'm the gal that has failed dental implants and really struggling with recovery. Thank you very much. I remember you from last week. Don't worry, my memory's not that bad. I'm not that demented yet.
Being soft, that's what she was saying. She can't really do bison and red meat stuff, so that kind of explains why. Makes sense. Yeah, the sardines and eggs, things like that will be easier. I recommended a carnivore pizza crust so she can ground that up. If she wants to make it thinner, she can add in eggs. If she wants to make it thinner, add in some butter. But you just thin out the pizza crust basically with less ingredients, but very good. If you've got a sort of issue, just really quickly, you can put some bone broth in a blender, whiz up some organs.
You should have steaks, yeah.
Yeah, whiz them up. you know.
Good shout. Yeah, solid. You've got something from Eileen Payne. So thank you very much for £2. I believe it's been sent to one of the chaps on the screen. Keto for a year, lost 3 stone. Congratulations. Excellent news. If you're overweight, that's great news. If you're not overweight and you're underweight, probably not such good news if you ask me. Carnivore in March gained £13. Help. So she's gained £13 in, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, something like that. She'll start with Stephen. What's your take on what she should do? Obviously, there's no context really at all, so it's tricky to really help how the way we'd usually do. But what do you think?
Well, yeah, like you say, good little disclaimer there, because we don't know enough about you. Personally, I think some coaching would help if you're mystified. But some things to look at: have you bought into the high fat, add a stick of butter to everything sort of thing? Because you could go back to basics and not do all of that and just go back to whole foods. So the ratio is 1-to-1 fat to protein by weight. That might be a thing to do rather than adding fats. You could be one of those people that responds better to a higher protein, lower fat. So I think it's a case of trial and error. Be interested to know what you ate on keto. If I was coaching you, the first thing I'd say is, right, what worked for you on keto? Tell me the meals you were eating and the frequency, when you were eating it. When you went carnivore, what did you change? And what I think just being forensic about the differences in the meals might just be enough. Is there some outside influences? Was there more stress in March? Why did you go carnivore when you're doing so well on keto? Too many questions, but I think go back to basics, have a good look at what you're eating, make sure that you're not doing all the normal things that possibly gain weight, too much dairy, artificial sweetness for some people. I know that annoys Richard when I say that, but for some people it does cause a problem. Too much fat can cause a problem. Eating too early in the day and finishing too early in the day can cause a problem for some people. And conversely, starting too late and ending too late can cause a problem. So look at your feeding window. They're the things that come to mind straight off.
Excellent stuff.
Can I just quickly jump in on that and ask what is that?
Yeah.
Pounds? You'd have to have some kind of a DEXA scan or something to see what that 13 pounds is. I mean, we're presuming it's fat here, but could it be bone density and muscle mass? Are you relying solely on the scales or also checking the tape measure? I'm a big fan of using the tape measure and not the scales to see what's going on. So I would also have to see what that 13 pounds is comprised of.
That's a good question. Yeah, what is it? I mean, when you look in the mirror, do you like what you see? Do things feel floppy? Do things feel firm? What do you see? Might be worth a look. I mean, at this point, what I'll be doing right now, just to make sure if it is significant over fatness gain, if that's the real word, take a photo of yourself now, weigh yourself, take a tape waist measurement with a tape, record it down, write it, say, what is it, 6th of, I don't know, August. Check again in a month, see what happens. Do it at the same time of day and see what happens. That's your best measure that you can do, which most people have a tape measure. Most people have a set of scales. Most people take a picture and just have a look. You might be surprised. You might actually find, I've gained 2 pounds next month, but my waist's got smaller. Maybe you've gained muscle. Who knows? It's very possible. If you're under muscled, you probably gain muscle on this sort of diet if you're under eating protein beforehand anyway. So, yeah, Lee, what's your take on this one? What would you suggest?
Honestly, between the three of you, you've covered it. Without the context, it's difficult to add anything definitely specific. I mean, like Stephen said, you'd want to know what meals you had, how often were you eating? Were you living a slightly different lifestyle? Is there something else going on that's changed other than your diet? Maybe it is good weight. Maybe it's healthy, like Phil was saying, muscle and bone. Definitely, if you feel good and you're not looking at yourself going, oh, what's happening to me? Don't worry about it. I think that on carnivore, most likely your body will, down the line, will tell you, I don't want so much fat. And you'll probably get that signal, I need a bit more protein. And then also you might find that things just naturally resolve. You'll find where you sit in terms of your body composition comfortably and naturally. I wouldn't stress about it too much, but definitely we would need to know a little bit more context to give you any sort of specifics.
How long's a piece of string? Honestly, you can keep putting things in the chat and sending us super chats, which we do greatly appreciate. But you know, we would have to sort of know your history and a lot of things, which would probably take up about 3 paragraphs worth of characters just to get the very baseline information that we would require. We're not saying that to be difficult or challenging. We just cannot really unpick it the way we're doing it right now.
If anybody else is listening, I don't know if it's applicable to this case, but 10-second answer or whatever. I had somebody recently who put on a load of weight, and after 5 years on carnivore, she was taking in too much blue light. She changed her job, ended up in front of a screen, sorted out all the blue light, got iris on the computer, wore blue blockers, that kind of thing, and the weight came off again. So again, too many questions on that. It's not always just diet.
Yeah, good shout for sure. We've got a super chat from, I don't know how much it is. It's a reverse E with a squiggly below it. But it's got 40 on it, and it's more than 1. So it means it must be about at least £1, but it could also be like $1,000 for all, you know, I don't know. Probably isn't, but here we go. Anyway, much appreciated. Thank you for the super chat. And the question is, how long and how often is good to fast on carnivore? We're all going to say the same answer, so whoever says first can say the answer, and that's probably what we're all going to say. You guys can go ahead. You can take it.
I was actually going to be a bit more specific.
Yeah.
I was going to say, but I think more than 5 days is basically inappropriate unless you are really trying to address something serious. That's my opinion. That's just an opinion.
Yeah.
I think more than 5
if we
address a serious gut issue or cancer or something like that, 5 days to me, I think any more than that can be pro-inflammatory. I think it's unnecessary and inappropriate. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
I think you're right, and I think that, you know, I'll go with Sophia and the guys at Paleo Medicina on this, that if you're really properly strict and you're not taking in anything that needs, I hate this term, detoxing from, you don't need to fast really. Just bear in mind that when you're fasting, you won't have symptoms. If it's a leaky gut issue, you won't have symptoms, but you're not giving the body the building blocks that it needs to heal the gut and to heal the rest of the body. So the more strict you are on carnivore, the less you need to fast. Just eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full. And, you know, it might be, even if somebody's been given a month to live with pancreatic cancer or whatever, it might well be worth doing an 11-day dry fast to see if you can blow it up, because that's a different issue. It could create all that autophagy, apoptosis, get rid of everything that's unnecessary in the body. But if you're reasonably healthy, why would you want to put yourself through that? I think it's a very powerful intervention, but why would you want to put yourself through that? If you're reasonably healthy, not at death's door, eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full. You don't need to force fast like I did and lost all my muscle back in 2012 or so, doing these 5 to 11-day water fasts, just because every time I ate the wrong crap and started eating that again, I'd be in agony. So I'd be frightened of food. Just eat proper food. You don't need those fasts.
Can I just add as well, if you are going to fast, don't think that you should just not move. Like, it's bad to move. Move a lot. Like, when I did my 5-day fast, the only reason I did it is because I had pyoderma. It looked pretty violent and aggressive, and it was spreading quite quick, very, very painful. I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to fast. And I went to work. I did a little bit less, but I went to work. I was cleaning windows for like 3 or 4 hours, and I didn't lose a lot of weight. I'd lost about 3 pounds. When I was in my surgery and I'm just laying there doing absolutely nothing, I lost a stone in the same amount of time, 14 pounds. And so, I would just encourage that you move and lift things as well.
Yeah, I mean, all autophagy is, guys, which what the aim of fasting usually is something which is invariably a up and down scale. You're either in a 0 state of autophagy and gaining fat, inflammation. Your body will let you do that if you eat the wrong foods. If you're on a carnivore diet, ketogenic diet, you're increasing autophagy. One way you can look at it is the insulin to glucagon ratio, which I believe is ideally in our sort of diet something like 1.2 to 1. So you always want to be, generally speaking, for the majority of your day, you want to be more of a positive state of insulin. If it's the other way around, you're in more of a catabolic phase. So the idea isn't to continuously be in catabolism. eventually you'll waste away. You'll do what Lee and Phil have done where they've not been well, and you'll just feel like crap because your body's got no insulin. So think insulin gaining, glucagon, and does that ratio reducing. So yeah, that's what I'd be thinking of. And largely speaking, you'll get most of the benefits just on a carnivore diet alone. The more zero out you get on to carbs, and the more, or I'll say the more appropriate protein is with enough fat, the more autophagy you'll probably release because you're in a higher ketogenic state. Then further to that, if you don't eat anything at all, you're going to upregulate it even more. Problem is, there's a fine limit to what you can achieve with different sort of protocols. And Lee made a good point as well, doing a long ass fast, and I feel it as well actually. You can't sustain it for very long. I would personally, unless like the guy said, unless it was a serious ailment which needed like nuking out your body, and it doesn't matter if you lose a stone of muscle in a week or what have you. Stick to maybe less than 3 days of fasting. I think that's effective amount. Salt water, stuff like that. Maybe get some of Richard's up here. Shout out Keto Pro electrolytes. Use Carnivore Muscle 10 for 10% off exclusive code. I'm kidding, guys. I don't need to advertise. I'm not affiliated in that way. I just like his brand. But yeah. But yeah, get some salt in, some salt water. You'll get largely most of the benefit. Everything else is additive. Don't be so keen to switch on these different levers at all different times of day, because it only takes you so far and you can't adhere to it long term. It's not sustainable to fast, which is why we eat food, which is why we have teeth. So make use of these useful things. Very good. So if anyone's got any extra takes on that, I think we're going to wrap it up here, guys. We've given some people some solid advice, some expert opinions. I'm just going to go around the table now. So if you want to start with Lee, Stephen, then Phil, to promote your channels, anything upcoming you want people to watch in particular, maybe any services, ebooks, consultations, coaching plans, programs that you offer, feel free to shout that out now.
Yeah, I'm simply on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed, because most people that watch my videos aren't subscribed, please go over and subscribe. I've got some videos coming out this week, one with Bart K, and I'll be featuring on Tammy Peterson's podcast Thursday. Not sure when that will come out, but I'll share that with my community because that will hopefully be an interesting discussion.
Brilliant. Yeah, I've if you go to philescott.com, you'll find my website. If anybody would like a consultation specifically about autoimmunity, I think I've got a unique take on that because I've been through it as well and taken the trouble to study all about it. But I would say if anybody's in the UK, please check out that website underneath my name, ancestralhealthfestival.com. Come along, meet these guys, load of other amazing people. There's nothing like a live event, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Only just over a week to book the tickets. Come along. I mean, people I see in the chat, people appreciate these things so much, but imagine coming along and hanging out with these people and loads of other amazing people. Go see all the interviews with speakers, this and that there at the ancestralhealthfestival.com. Come and join us.
Yeah, you can visit my website, ukcarnivore.com, and you can see that I offer online coaching at the moment. I'm doing an offer where you can get 5 sessions for the price of 4, or you can go on Amazon and you can look at my name and see that I've written the Guide to Blood Tests, which is looking at blood tests in the context of carnivore, low carb, or ketogenic diets. There's also a wonderful How to Be Carnivore, which is a fantastic starter book if you want to know all about carnivore. Very cheap to buy. You can get them as ebooks, and also finally, because I'm an obesity and diabetes specialist, you could also look at Diabetes Decoded. So that's me, really.
And just a quick one at the end of that. Come along, because those books will be available at the ancestralhealthfestival.com. Come along and get signed copies of them.
Yeah, cheers for that, guys. I appreciate you sharing your stuff. It's all solid stuff, guys. I recommend highly to check it all out. One other thing, I just wanted to thank Coach Stephen, specifically just now, for not promoting his own ebook, which is nearly, well, it's not the same as mine, but it's the same principle as mine, bodybuilding on a carnivore diet. So, yeah, thanks for not trying to cross-compete there. Yeah, anyway, thanks, guys, and we'll see you guys soon. And take care and enjoy your week ahead. We'll be here next week, Tuesday, 7 p.m, as per usual, UK time. And thanks very much.
Introducing Beef Up Carnivore Bodybuilding Bible. The ultimate guide for men and women to lose fat and build muscle. And the best part, it's only $12. Don't miss out on the most detailed resource available.